Hello, everybody. My name is Leo, and today we're going to be discussing Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. Now, this is going to be a wrap up session of what I thought of the game and how it went, what direction it went, the characters, the villains, and just the story overall. This isn't going to discuss everything because I haven't technically beaten the game. I'm at the very end point. Spoilers. Killed Emperor Rudolph, our father. Sorry, spoiler warning. Anyways, I've done that, and I've gotten to a point in the game where I'm pretty much at the end, even if I'm not. So I don't really think they can do anything at the end that either screws it up so greatly that it changes my opinion entirely, or it has such a good ending or great ending that makes my opinion even higher than it already is, because at this point it's pretty much set in stone of what I think of the game. Not to say that it can't improve, not to say that it won't go down a bit, but it probably won't be anything drastic. So without further ado, let's go over my thoughts and just gonna get more comfortable. Let's go over my thoughts about Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia and how do I think it is compared to Fire Emblem Awakening and Fire Emblem Fates. Why am I comparing it to the two other games? Because I really feel like these three Fire Emblem games are going to be the only Fire Emblem games that will ever see the Nintendo 3DS. Now you might be wondering, why? Well, we already have a Fire Emblem game, two Fire Emblem games, in fact, announced for the Nintendo Switch. So, by now, I kind of feel like the Switch is probably going to be Fire Emblem's new home for a little while until the next console gets released. It's probably going to blow up our minds, like, oh my god, so much better than the Switch! Depending on if you love or hate the Switch, I'll probably still play the Switch even when it's gone, especially with the 3DS. Even if they don't make games for it, I'll probably still be playing its games, because they're just that much fun. But as for this video, it's not going to say whether or not Echoes is better than Fates or Awakening, and that includes all the Fates storylines, not just one. But it's going to talk about how was it in terms of those games? Not if it's overall better, but is it at the very least somewhat it's hard to explain. If it's what we asked for after these two games and how it compares to them in some kind of ways. So, I guess I'll go over that first because it's just gonna be a lot of confusing. I'd rather get this starting over with now rather than later. So, for Fire Emblem Awakening and Fates, those were the two first Fire Emblem games I played. I know a lot more about the originals now. Well, I've known them for a long time. Whether it's Google searching everything about them, watching YouTube videos, to actually being able to play a little bit of games themselves. I've seen the gameplay, played the gameplay, and to be honest, the old one games are really great. Okay, the older games are really great. But let's talk about the 3DS games and how it went. Fire Emblem Awakening, tons of people loved it, old and new. Maybe not so much as old, but it was great. Fates kind of made a big explosion of not goodness for both old and new fans. Some people didn't like it. I personally didn't mind Fates. I enjoyed it, even though Birthrights is still my least favorite Fire Emblem game. I still have fun playing it. That's the one thing I really don't feel like anyone can judge Fates for, is the gameplay. Because to be honest, I had tons of fun with it. Sure, there are always those moments where you're like, why did this happen? This is stupid. But again, that pretty much goes in every Fire Emblem game. And if you say Echoes or Awakening or Fates or any other Fire Emblem game never had a moment where you wanted to tear your hair out because it was so impossibly hard, you're lying. You're absolutely lying. You're a liar. You're just a fucking liar. Every Fire Emblem game has those moments where it's just gets to a point where it's does something that's so stupid, or just something that you just don't like that makes you so angry. No Fire Emblem game is truly perfect, and neither is Echoes, but that doesn't make them not good Fire Emblem games. And as for a wrap up to the series, I think Echoes is a great way to end off the 3DS series for Fire Emblem games, and it's definitely going to be a game I continue playing. I still play Fates and Awakening today, even though they're kind of old, and I already know what to do, pretty much. I know the maps, I know pretty much all lines of dialogue over and over and over again. I could probably read out to you the entire stories if I really wanted to, because I just play them so much, because I have fun playing them. And to be honest, I don't really know which story I like more between Fates and Awakening. But I still had so much fun playing those games. And I just started Shadows of Valentia Echoes. So there's no doubt in my mind that I will replay this game over and over and over again, just for the fun of it, and because it's just such a great game. Is it the best one? Well, find out on next week's episode, where we're going to compete these 3 games against each other. And just over and all, in my opinion, which games did better in some areas, which game did worse in some areas, and overall, with all of it, which game was the best game to see the 3DS and really did the series justice. So, let's talk about Echoes, just as a game in general. So, I guess one important thing we should discuss is the support system in Echoes, because Fates and Awakening have very different support systems, and are a bit different. Now, as for Echoes supports, to be honest, when I saw it, I couldn't care less if it had supports or it didn't have supports. But at the same time, after having supports for so long, and I really thought about it, I was like, this game should have supports in them. This game really should have supports in them. Because if you really think about it, like, how could you love any of the characters like Valbar, Leon, Kamui, Saber, even like characters like Forsyth and Python? Probably some of my 2 least favorite in the entire game, mainly just because there's not really a lot done with them, and while their personalities do stick out, they're not my favorite in the Fire Emblem universe. As a matter of fact, I think they're my least favorite in like Fire Emblem as a whole. And it's not that they're bad. I certainly like them, but I feel like there just wasn't enough supports with them to make them better. That's why supports are actually needed, because it fleshes them out and makes them feel more like characters rather than just something you use on the battlefield. Because like most of the times in video games with like characters, and this goes for older Fire Emblem games too that didn't have supports. With characters that didn't have supports, it felt the only really love you could give them is the kind of love you'd have for a Smash Bros. Character. You love them not necessarily because they're a good character, but more as they wreck all kinds of shit on the battlefield. And that may also affect units that are poor on the battlefield. Units that don't do great on the battlefield and don't have enough supports to build up a character not only makes them a bad unit, but also makes them a bad character. So there's no real way to love them. Echo still has a support system, but there were questionable moments in them. I believe I said this in one of my videos for Echoes, but Alm can't support with a lot of people. Alm can't really support with almost anyone. I'm pretty sure towards the end game, Alm may be able to support with Celica. I kind of doubt it at this point. But Alm throughout the entire story seems to be only able to support with Faye and Claire. Why these 2? I don't know. Sure, they're in love. They're both in love with Alm, but why just them? Why can't we see Alm support with Clive? Why can't we see Alm support with Lucas? Why can't we see Alm support with even Gray, Cliff, or Tobin? Fucking Tobin! At least Tobin. These 5 not only have good parts in the story and actually support Alm in some ways, maybe not so much as Cliff, but they grew up in the same village with him for years now, and Alm can't support with any of them, and they can barely support with other people too, even themselves. If you think that was a good choice by Nintendo, and this is totally something that I can slide, I have to disagree. I'm sorry. I have to disagree. It doesn't seem right for Alm only to be able to support 2 characters, and for those 2 characters to be just 2 girls that are infatuated with him. I get why they would do this, but at the same time, Alm could have been even more better of a character, and like I said in the beginning, I felt as though Alm's story is going to be better than Celica's story, but Celica is going to be better a character than Alm is. Now, as of right now, the 2 of them very, very much stand on somewhat similar grounds. Maybe Celica's a bit higher, but Alm is pretty up there too. But I don't really have a defined choice between the 2 of them, because over time, I knew I was going to like Alm. I always knew that. But I always thought I'd like Celica a lot more. But over time, and I really get to see Alm and really get to like be with him and experience him, I have to say I really do like his character. And to be honest, with Celica, I love her character too, but I feel like parts of me are really, really going towards Alm more than Celica. Like, there's something that each of them has that's better than the other that I like more, but I still like Alm too. And I haven't seen the end of the game yet, so who knows? Maybe my opinion will change. As for how far the stories have gone, I don't think my opinion has changed about the stories. I feel like Alm's path was like so much better than Celica's, mainly just because Alm's like main villains felt a lot better than Celica's villains. Point in case, Berkut. Berkut was an awesome villain that I really, really did like. He was certainly better than Gangrel or like the Conqueror. I forget his name. I can tell you every single line. I just can't tell you the names. What was his name? I can't remember. He's even, I think he's better than Garen, and he's definitely better than that mage guy from Nor as well. God, I am not good with names. That annoying guy that just dicks with you no matter what path you go on. He's even better than Hans. To be honest, Berkut was a pretty good villain, and so is Fernand. I think I like Fernand a bit more. I'm kind of disappointed that he wasn't in the final fight. I mean, I understood why Berkut was in the final fight. Oh, never mind. Now I understand why Fernand wasn't in the final fight. Fernand is in service of Berkut, and he wasn't allowed to be on the battlefield, whatever. See, I don't think about this sometimes. As for like other characters in general, for like the villains for Celica's path, the only really interesting one I think is probably just like Jeddah. Jeddah was kind of like, dude's fucking Jeddah, but like Jeddah's pretty good. He's not the best. Like, I feel like Alm's villains are like way better than Celica villains. And what's the weird thing is I actually thought Jeddah would be going after Alm and Nui Baba would be going after Celica. I don't know why I thought that, but it was vice versa, so I was wrong because I'm an idiot. But hey, I only saw a trailer. Don't blame me. It's not my fault. Okay. God, so rude. Anyways, so yeah, Alm's villains are definitely better. I'm sorry, my throat really hurts and I'm swallowing stuff every so often. It's so annoying. But with Celica and Alm's villains take the cake. I absolutely love them. They are, like, so great. And the fact that Emperor Rudolph was your father, I kind of knew it the whole time, because they hint at it, not very subtly, but, oh well. Oh, I am your father. By the way, you killed me. Good job. Poor Alm. That's gotta suck. Killing your own father without ever knowing him. Begs the question, who's Alm's mother, though? If anyone has an idea, I'd love to hear it. Actually, wait, that makes Alm and Berkut cousins. That's like such a weird thing to think about now. Yeah, I almost killed my own cousin a couple times. It's fine. Yeah, I almost killed my cousin a couple times. It's also fine. This game is lovely. I still love this game, to be honest, but overall, in my opinion, it won't be settled until I've beaten the game, and until next week, where I compare it to all three of the other games, and feel like which one did the 3DS the best service, and which one was the best overall. What kind of makes me sad, though, in some ways, and now when I go over it, I still know why it wasn't added, for a lot of reasons, but it still kind of makes me sad at the same time. But also at the same time, there's like this realization that it really couldn't fit in. And that was the marriage system. It was always nice to get two units closer and closer together and get them married. But with these other characters' cases, I understood why these characters couldn't be together. Alm and Faye being the case in point, like the best ones. It's very clear that Faye eventually wants to go back to the village and live her life out there. But as for Alm, he doesn't. He doesn't want to go back to that village. Why would he? He's been stuck there his entire life, and now he's finally out there in the world. Not to mention he's found out he's Regalian royalty. Who knows what he needs to do next? And he also has to fight Duma and everything. And we all knew Alm was going to become king at the end of the story. I haven't even beaten the story, and I already know he's going to be a fucking king. So really, it makes sense. And plus, Faye is like this new added character. She wasn't in the original guidance, so it wouldn't make sense for her to get married to Alm. And as for Claire, I mean, maybe not. It's like 50-50 for me. I feel like Claire could have worked, but at the same time, it can't work. This is kind of why I don't really want another prequel. Or like not a prequel, but a remake in a sort of sense. Not that I don't want there to be like any remakes ever again, but like I just don't like the fact of the idea of making like a remake of the games. Some of them need it, but at the same time, it's like there are things like the newer games introduced that can't be there. And sure, I'm not crazy for children units, but I do love the feeling of seeing two units' bonds grow stronger and stronger and stronger, and then they eventually get together and get married. It was kind of heartbreaking to see Faye spill out her emotions for Alm and come clean with it, even if she is a bit crazy. But like when Alm rejects it, it was like such a sad moment. It's like even though she's crazy, you still have this feeling like you want them to be together. Even though it seems though Alm probably is only gonna, if Alm's gonna marry anyone, it's most definitely gonna be Celica. Maybe. Who knows? I haven't beaten the game yet, so I don't know yet. I have a terrible cold. But, yeah, that's pretty much just it. These are pretty much most of my thoughts on Echoes. The cast is great. The villains are great. The story is pretty good. But you'll have more information on that when I compare each of the three games together and I compare their overall stories and which one was most interesting. But I guess one thing that I should talk about beforehand is the story's potential. Now, I don't think I've said this before, but Fire Emblem Echoes really feels like what Fire Emblem Fates could have been. I can easily imagine, like Corrin making his own kind of deliverance after the death of his mother when Nor invades. And for a lot of people to call Mikoto a weak ruler, but still respect her because she's so kind. To be honest, I can really picture that, especially with Rudolph and Garen. I really can picture Garen as a Rudolph. I really feel like Garen could have been a Rudolph if people just writ him differently. But the past is in the past. Oh well, what do I know? I'm a stupid boy. But there's just so many things. The similarities, the lands, one being totally barren and like gone and destroyed and blah 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 blah. And the other one prospering and being so wealthy, so gifted. Sounds so much like Nora and Hoshido, right? You just say it doesn't, you're lying to yourself. You're lying. You're 100% a liar. And don't tell me you didn't think of Corrin at all when you heard this. Child of Fate. Ooh, don't remember a game called Fates at all, right? I can really easily picture Corrin in the story of Echoes pretty easily, with Sophia and Rigel being replaced by Nor and Hoshido. It gets to the point of where I feel like both of these games took inspiration from each other. I really feel like Hoshido and Nor could have been made as inspiration from some of the original Fire Emblem games, and probably this one was probably also could have been based off a little bit of Fire Emblem Fates. Which is pretty interesting if you think about it. Because there's just so many concepts and ideas that work well in both games. That could work well in both games. And it makes sense in both games too. It's not just something random. But yeah, those are just my closing thoughts. What did you all think about this game? As for me, I think it's pretty good. And I definitely cannot wait to get to the end of this. I'm almost there. I'm almost beating it. I'm at the castle and everything. I just beat Rudolph. Found out he's my father. OMG. Cannot wait to finish this game. But yeah, one thing I have to say though, I wish Mycen would have fought more with us though. Maybe he will at the final chapter, but by then it's kind of late, but oh well. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and please stay tuned for next week when we compare the three games together. We're going to be playing Fire Emblem Echoes, which is over there, and Fire Emblem Fates and Awakening, my two games that are over there as well. and we're going to see just which one was the best one in 3DS. Tell me down below, which one do you think was the best out of all the ones in the 3DS? And tell me why, too. And not only that, which one do you think had better aspects from each other? What was something that Echoes needed from these two games, and what were things that these two games could use that Echoes did? Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Leo, and as always, I beg all of you to take care.